The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
We're here. There's a Stanley Cup awarded, and we haven't had a trade. Not one trade. Not one thing.
That's not true. That's not true.
Who?
Brandon Peary got traded for a guy who's, I don't remember his first name, but his last name's Sakura.
Yeah, that's true.
Vegas, Chicago.
Tom, I think is it Tom Secure? Is it Tom? I don't know.
I think you're thinking of the comedian Tom Segura.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Well, what I do know is that I read a lot of Blackhawks stuff on that because I thought it would be the start of the avalanche of trades. And from what I understand, Jeremy Colton didn't really like him, and he wasn't going to play him anyway. And a lot of Blackhawks fans are pretty upset, actually, at Stan Bowman for bringing back Brandon Peary. And I don't hate it for them. It's not like they gave up Panarin for him, but it's sort of like, they didn't give up much to get him, but people are like, just stop trying to get the band back together and do something else, I think, is what's going on in Chicago. There's fatigue with a 2-time or 3-time Stanley Cup general manager, which is crazy. You imagine having the bar set that high?
Oh, I found the tweet. Okay, so this is from Mark Lazarus. All right. Former Blackhawks reacquired by Stan Bowman.
Oh, God.
Brian Campbell, Daniel Carcillo, Adam Clendenning, Marcus Kruger, Andrew Ladd, Jeremy Morin, Leaf legend, Johnny Oduya, Brandon Peary, Brandon Saad. He even reacquired 2 different Brandons. Patrick Sharp, Andrew Shaw, Chris Versteeg, twice. The Wendell Clark special. He loves getting the band back together. He just absolutely loves it. But my first instinct when I saw the deal was, Brandon Peary, he's a pretty underrated guy. He should be in the NHL.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
The fact that they had to do it again. Yeah. Oh, God bless Stan Bowman.
He's going to continue to be him. And it's funny because even when things go bad for the Hawks, they end up pretty good. They still ended up in the playoffs this year somehow after finishing 23rd or 24th.
Even better, Adam. He's going to continue to be him from 2010.
Yes, he is. And you know what? It worked for him for a while, so I can't hate too much.
What they say about life, never evolve. Never change, never do anything differently ever.
Stop it.
That's right. Let's go back to the good old days when things were good for me and nobody else.
What worked a decade ago, that will continue to work forever. Definitely.
That's right. There's a lot of that going on in the NHL, and there has been for a while, and it's why you get a lot of the same coaches recycled and a lot of the same GMs recycled and a lot of the same scouts recycled. Now, obviously we had a Stanley Cup. It was amazing to see Steven Stamkos raise that Stanley Cup. The 2.5 minutes that he played the entire series, still gets a goal in the Stanley Cup Finals in Game 3, which is incredible. What an emotional, amazing moment.
Stamkos now has a Stanley Cup and a gold medal without playing in the clinching games.
He didn't play in the gold medal clinching game for Canada?
I don't think he did. No, he was injured. Remember? He was on the taxi squad.
He's had a nightmare of a career. Nightmare of a career.
I don't know if it's that much of a nightmare. He's still done pretty well.
No, but just the things he's missed out on. Yeah. Playing in those 2 clinching games. He'll probably never play for Canada at the Olympics. It's all but guaranteed. And he should have made the 2010 team, was snubbed, was a lock to make the 2014 team, broke his leg. 2018, he was going to make the team. They didn't even go. He's had a blood clot, the broken leg, as I've mentioned. It just seems like there's always something with this guy. He's still a winner, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
And an above a point a game player, which is unbelievable considering.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Guy that scored 50 goals and won the Rocket Richard and done all 60. The things that 60 goals. Well, there you go, right? You know what? And I have to do a little ode to the Dallas Stars here because I think, Steve, you were the guy that called it early in the season. Just, watch out for the Stars. They're a lot better than people think they are. Turned out they were pretty good. What would you say about the Dallas Stars season and about their performance in the Stanley Cup?
Well, if it's a copycat league, what's the thing you copy from the Dallas Stars? You're going to have a lot of galaxy brain GMs going out there trying to find playoff specialists. Because if I have this correct, the difference between Joe Pavelski and Corey Perry's combined regular season goal total and their playoff goal total is 1. Pavelski had 14 in the regular season, 13 in the playoffs. Perry had 5 in the regular season, 5 in the playoffs.
Wow.
So They were in a similar position to, people are going to hate this comparison, but I don't care, to the Canucks, where I looked at the Perry signing and I said, that's not very good. And I looked at the Pavelski signing and I said, that's not very good. And I'm sorry, he scored at less than a 20-goal pace during the regular season as a $7 million player, Joe Pavelski did. That's not a good signing. But his playoff performance was incredible. Just because the contract is not great doesn't mean they don't have this wagon of a team. Now, I didn't know the Dallas Stars were this good. I didn't. And I didn't know the Vancouver Canucks were going to be as good as they were. But they're both teams that went out in free agency, spent probably too much, and people criticize them, and, oh, my God, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? Well, in the meantime, GMs, I think one season at a time. And the Dallas Stars built a very good team for the season. And then we were introduced to this cast of characters we had never even heard of. Joel Hanley scoring his first goal as a 29-year-old. Dowling scoring his first goal as a 29-year-old. That was against the Leafs to ruin a shutout. Fun! Joel Kiviranta, who none of you outside of Finland had ever heard of, all of a sudden turning into this monster. And I don't think you saw Corey Perry playing the best hockey of the last half decade coming. I don't think you saw Anton Hudobin being, in the Conn Smythe conversation. I don't know if you necessarily saw the emergence of Miro Heiskanen. They're a great team. So people might try to galaxy brain the playoff specialist thing from the Dallas Stars. What is the thing you copy from the Tampa Bay Lightning? This is part of the reason I'm glad they won. What do you copy? Be perfect at everything? Do everything perfectly? Is that what you copy?
Have incredible talent and talent that was willing to stay for less money as well.
Have great pro scouting and amateur scouting and draft well and have lots of picks and get everyone to sign for less and have no state tax and et cetera, et cetera. Like, what's to copy there other than they did everything beautifully?
They did. Almost a perfect, right. Are they the most perfect cap team we've ever seen? Top to bottom?
They're up there. I mean, they just won a cup with 2 minutes and 47 seconds of service from Steven Stamkos.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
One lesson.
It never really looked in doubt.
Yeah.
No. They were the best team throughout the playoffs, easily.
One lesson I think you can take away from the Lightning and the last handful of previous Stanley Cup champions is that it's important to keep the core together. I was thinking about it in terms of the Leafs. If you look at the Lightning, the Blues, the Capitals, the Penguins, those are the last 4 Stanley Cup champions. The thing they all have in common is their top players have been there for a while. And it took them that time to win. You think of Ovechkin, you think of Crosby, you think of Kuznetsov, you think of all the top guys in the Blues, all these top guys on the Lightning. They've been there for half a decade. So I took that and I thought about the Leafs and I was like, okay, maybe don't break up the band. Maybe give Tavares and Matthews and Marner and Riley 5 years. Let's calm down. These things take a while. It takes maybe winning the President's Trophy and setting the record for most wins in a regular season and then losing in the first round to then win the Cup next year. Sometimes.
Well, and what's the worst that could possibly happen with having those 5 together for 5 years? Or those 4 together for 5 years. The thing is that what's the alternative? And I know we've talked about on this show what it would take to bring in Pietrangelo. Does that mean you move out of Marner? Does that mean you move out of Nylander or whatever? And I think you're right, Jesse, in the fact that these guys, especially you look at Crosby and the way he was criticized before he won a Stanley Cup, even when he lost the finals against Detroit. I think it was 2008. You look at the way the Chicago Blackhawks had to build theirs, and it took 6 or 7 years. There's a patience factor that Toronto, and the patience factor that obviously Toronto doesn't have, which rightfully so. Toronto fans shouldn't be patient anymore. But at the same time, rationally speaking, and I hope that the general managing staff is rational. I would think that they are. The right thing to do is to keep the band together and hope that you can build around the corners. And I think that's exactly what the plan has been. However, with this Pietrangelo stuff, I don't know. It seems like they're going to inquire, right? So I'm a little concerned about that, but we'll talk about that a little bit later because there's been more takes that I've been able to absorb, and it's changed my opinion a little bit. And I'm curious to get what you guys think. But let's stay with Dallas and Tampa. I think if there's one thing I would say about Dallas, it's this is a team of like, there are stars. There are three major offensive stars there. It's Radulov, Ben, and Sagan, right? Those are the three major stars. Yes, they got depth scoring from Kivi Ranta, Corey Perry, Joel Pavelski. Really great stuff. But at the end of the day, the Dallas Stars play a system that is hard to play against. They're a pain in the ass every night. They do grind you down. And the one thing, if you compare and contrast with the Leafs, is that when you're coming into Toronto, you're going to have a high-flying kind of fun game. But you don't feel like it. Like when you go to Dallas, it's sort of like, this is going to suck. You know what I mean? And over a 7-game series, I think that kind of makes a difference. And if you're a team that's lacking talent in certain areas, I would look at the Dallas Stars and say, how do we get our team to commit to a system like Dallas's team does? You know what I mean? And I'm talking all the way through the lineup. Dallas,
the Islanders,
Columbus.
Yeah, the Islanders. Great idea.
And they're just not fun to play against. And I was sort of thinking about that. You were talking about what lessons can the Leafs take from that. I was like, okay, Riley's a Gronk. You need to get him someone to play with. Doesn't need to be Alex Pietrangelo. You just need to get him someone to play with. Jake Muzzin's awful to play against. What? That's not fun.
Yeah,
it's not fun at all.
Sucks to play against.
Yeah. You add one more problem to the back end. Dermott's annoying. He's not a problem. You add one more problem to that back end. I would take Radko Gudas even if like it was a possession hit, just because you need to be unpleasant to play against in the Leaf zone. Like, I think people talk about like toughness and banging and crashing in the offensive zone. The Leafs, for the most part, there were some games where they took the night off, but for the most part, they don't look fun to play against offensively. They have the puck all the time, and Zach Hyman will grind you down. They have a few guys that will grind you down, but they just have the puck the whole time, and they have these lethal releases. It's in their own end. And I keep going back to this piece Andrew Berkshire wrote about Cody Ceci, and it was basically, how bad was he really? And he pulled up all these numbers I hadn't considered that actually showed he was not totally bad in a lot of different departments, but my eyes matched up with the numbers perfectly in that once the puck was in the Leaf zone, it was there to stay.
Yeah.
It was there to stay. And he was not, well, what's that term that we love to use? Big for nothing? Cody Ceci's a big body. Big for nothing. He's not a problem to play against.
Right.
Mm-hmm. If you're going to be big, you better be big for a reason.
Right.
I don't care if you're big if you're not going to use it.
I think of Frederick Gauthier in the same way. Goat's like what?
Big for nothing.
6'3"? Like we're almost the same size. Is he 6'5"?
He's huge.
Yeah, and
huge.
you never feel that when he's out there with the fourth line. It's like you never notice that he's this. He's
because he spends half the game at 4'8" on his knees.
Yeah,
right.
He's like he's trying to play a finesse game where he just doesn't have the skill level to do it. So I know he's worked on the skating and stuff, but that doesn't mean skating for Freddie Gauthier the skating is to get your body there faster, right?
Yeah. And 6'5"
body, you have to use your
bigger. 6'5" is bigger than what 95% of the NHL. He's probably the top 10 tallest guys in the league. He's got to be able to use that body.
Top 25 for sure.
Yeah,
and Now, how many huge guys do the Dallas Stars have now? I'm trying to think about it. Jamie Alexiak, and I don't know. It's just the Dallas Stars were pricks to play against.
They play big.
It was so funny. Corey Perry doesn't have a lot of big moments to his resume, like in terms of being a piece of shit. Like I'm talking big moments. Like Tom Wilson, that guy's leading Sports Center or whatever. How many nights of the year because they're trying to suspend the guy. Corey Perry, it's just kind of, this guy stinks. And I saw a lot of people, particularly younger people, and yes, I'm going to pull that card, going, why do people hate Corey Perry so much? Because he's been around for a decade and a half being an asshole. Well, point to one thing. Hey, it wasn't anything off the ice. I don't know anything about Corey Perry off the ice. I really don't. It's on the ice. He is awful to play against. And does your team have enough guys like that? Is basically what I'm trying to get across to the Leafs. And so many other teams around the league. Now, Tampa, what's the emphasis? Hedman, Point, Kucherov. Yanni Gord's a feisty player. I wouldn't put him in the category of Corey Perry. But they got some guys who will thump you. They got some guys who will absolutely take your head off, and they usually don't end up having to do it because you're too exhausted from chasing them around all game.
Yeah.
They really are.
Blake Coleman led the NHL in hits during the playoffs, and usually is up there in the regular season. Like this
is why hits are so misleading.
It's a funny stat, but
how many of you right now just went, really? Do you remember a Blake Coleman hit?
No, but I can remember how he plays, right? He does kind of bang and crash and do all the things, right? That I mean, he's like you said it, like Chris Kreider 2 years ago would have been a perfect Leaf. Blake Coleman would be a perfect Leaf.
But having the league leader in hits on the Stanley Cup winning team, I don't feel is insignificant. You know, it's like when the plus minus is all the way, you're like plus 80 or minus 1,000. You're like, okay, maybe
something to be gleaned from that.
Yeah, it's still not a stat you're gonna look at, but maybe the league leader were like, okay, it means a little something that these guys were able to play a little tougher. You know, at the bottom of their lineup, they have the top skill guys at the top, but maybe the bottom guys are pushing a couple people around.
Does having a parking ticket make you a bad person? No. Does having 250 parking tickets make you raise your eyebrow a little bit?
Right.
Maybe an irresponsible person.
Jack Johnson, can someone show this guy where to park? If it was 1 or 2, I wouldn't care. Sorry, I keep bringing him up. Yeah, this guy's Adam used the word. He might be a bit irresponsible. I don't know.
That's a good word.
250 parking tickets.
That's
if it was 2 or 3, I wouldn't really care. Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's Toronto. You're going to get
10,
a
I'd
few.
be like, okay. Yeah.
250. Shit. What's wrong with you, dude?
That's your thing, is it? That's your thing? That's going to be your thing.
Take the bus.
Okay.
What do you?
Yeah. Uber'd be cheaper. Yeah, 100%.
Than 250 parking tickets.
So I think there's lots for any team to be learned from this. But the other thing is, I think you got to be very careful about overcommitting to learning from teams that have won, because what ends up happening is you end up living 3 or 4 years in the past, like the Canucks did when they played the 2011 Bruins and then tried to become them. And the reality is the Canucks were a game away. It could have gone either way. And everybody would have been copying the Canucks afterwards, and it would have gone finesse only. Like they would have been importing twins out of Sweden like crazy. I don't even care if you play hockey. Are you a twin? Great, but we're putting you on the team.
We're going 1-2 overall in every draft.
Every draft, just twins, Swedish twins, only Swedish twins. And that's the thing. Like it's. I hope that lower skilled teams, and I don't want to say like lower skilled teams like this, but. Guys like the Islanders, guys like the Dallas Stars, they are high-skilled teams, but they are, let's be honest, they sort of manage their weaknesses to make up for lack of maybe superstar. You've got a couple.
They're not skill-reliant.
There you go.
Skill is such a funny word, too, because we're not saying they're not skilled. It's just
they're all skilled.
They're all skilled. They're NHL players. It's just they don't.
It's just not their identity.
Goal scoring and finesse.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. So it'll be interesting to see how teams kind of react to that this offseason, although who the hell knows? I mean, it's going to get – they say it's going to get crazy. They've said that before. I wonder if the hype is going to be huge this offseason, and there's not going to be very much to feed on, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. First, speaking of feeding on, how about a gigantic bowl of Frosted Flakes? You know what I'm saying? Because it is time for – Frosted Flakes. And you know what? Normally we wouldn't do a Celly of the week here, but I think we maybe should, because it is finally the last Celly, right?
Celebrate with Frosted Flakes.
Do you want to go history on this one, Steve, or do you want to go Celly of the week right now because we've played our last game?
What a great Celly!
Thanks, Tony. I haven't gotten to it yet, but it will be great. So I did have one prepared, but why not? You know what? Let's do both. I can do both because they both involve Tampa Bay winning the Stanley Cup.
Steve's great.
I know, because they both involved both times Tampa has raised the Stanley Cup, because they are now up to 2. Both times they have done it. It involved the first player hoisting the Stanley Cup being someone where you were like, isn't that great? Someone who it was impossible to lament at all. I was cheering hard for the Calgary Flames to win the 2004 Stanley Cup. I wanted to see Jerome McGinley hoist that thing. It wasn't meant to be. But I did get to see Dave Anderchuk, a guy who had been around for an eternity without getting to hoist the Stanley Cup. I want to say he held the record for most NHL games played without winning the Stanley Cup. And then he won it. This year, it's Steven Stamkos getting the thing. We all know the story. We all know the bunch of stories because we've been over it a bunch of times. He missed this, he missed that, he missed that. I think the one that probably stung him the most was being 2 wins away from the Stanley Cup in 2015. And so much of the Tampa Bay Lightning, to Jesse's point, were on that team, and they understand the sting of getting so close and losing. So to see Steven Stamkos and the rest of the Tampa Bay Lightning get that moment as this Goliath team that really didn't feel like it when you looked deep into the stories, it was good to see them win the Stanley Cup. So that to me was my Celly of the week.
Love it.
And so you combine them. So that's Anderson and Stamkos. That's
there
fun.
You go.
Yes.
I like it.
Alexi brain.
Anderson.
Steve's great.
Stamderchuk. So you might have noticed that Jesse and I have gotten bigger on your screens, and that's because Adam had to leave. But that's okay. We're just going to do the show. Yeah. Me and Jesse, and you said something about the taxi squad?
Yeah, so off the top of the show, I was mentioning how Stamkos, he's missed out on so many good moments because in 2014, he breaks his leg for the Olympic moment, and then now yesterday, he's not playing when his team clinches the Stanley Cup winning game. And then I mentioned also that he was on the taxi squad for the 2010 Olympics, which he missed out. And I don't know what the rules are under the IIHF rules if he gets an actual gold medal. But I had the taxi squad up here. It was Bouwmeester, Robida, Jeff Carter, Stamkos, and St. Louis. And then as their goalie was Chris Mason. So you said, for anybody who's listening, Steve's holding up the picture of Team Canada 2010 Olympics right now. And he's not in the team photo, you said?
No, the only player... I don't know if you can hear me properly. The only player I can see in plain clothes is... Where is he? Here he is. It's Marc-Andre Fleury.
Who's the third goalie?
He was the team's third goalie. I don't see anybody else. I seem to remember... Maybe it was 2014. I thought someone had to come off the taxi squad and actually play games. But, I don't see Jeff Carter here. You said
no
Bouwmeester. I don't see Bouwmeester. I don't see Stefan Robida.
Which is crazy.
He was once one of the top 10 defensemen in Canada.
Born in this country.
Right. Born Canadians.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is wild. Yeah. That is wild.
Anyways, I just think it's fascinating the bad luck that he's had. But the teams he's on keep winning, So
well, I mean, he's obviously a good leader, an amazing teammate.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying, like, man, imagine if something would not allow you. Imagine the Virgin Radio morning show
with Adam Wild, TJ, and Jax, 5:30 to 9, Monday to Friday on 99.9 Virgin Radio.
Imagine that show had to be performed in a bubble for 2.5 months. Whew. But there was something preventing you from doing your job.
Right.
Would you stay in the bubble for 2.5 months just to be a really good coworker? Or would you bounce?
I would probably just chill at home, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure Stamkos could have done that. It's tough, though, man. You're the captain.
Mm-hmm.
You're the captain.
I feel like it was talked about a lot on the broadcast, but the mental toll on him, he practiced all the time, but it's not the same as playing the games. And just like being there, just watching all the time, every day for 2.5 months and not playing. Like, that must have been really tough. As tough as the guys who had to play.
And as a pro athlete, he's already got that competitive thing, but he's also Gary Roberts' protege, which what does that do to your head and the way you're wired? And this guy, and it's not even, no workout with Gary Roberts is going to make his shin bone stronger.
Right.
You know what I mean? The guy crashed into the post and then tried to stand on it. And what are you going to do? It's just bad luck, man. It's bad luck. And it must have been, it's wild to me that athletically he was able to do what he did in the 2 minutes and 47 seconds he played. And he was so fragile that was it. He was done. Like you hear the ridiculous things that players play through all the time. And you know he's not coming out of the lineup for just a little owie. He was coming out of the lineup because he's like, I'm useless right now. I know I can't help the team. He literally just scored one of the nicest goals of the playoffs, played like 2 more shifts, and decided I can't help the team anymore. That's how fragile he was.
And that's how hard he went, on his injured leg. It's crazy.
See, I don't know. Did you read that it was his leg? Because I've heard 2 different things, and neither were the leg.
What things have you heard?
I've heard the abdominals, and I've heard groin. I mean, it's a body part. We have it narrowed down to it as something on Steven Stamkos' body.
Right.
I don't know. It's probably going to get released during the show. I know that much.
Also, along with the long list of everything all of the guys have been playing with, we're going to hear, Seguin had 10 broken bones in his back, like that list always comes out the end of the season.
Well, yeah. Did you say Stamkos or Seguin?
Seguin. I just threw a name out there. Did the list already come out of the guys' injuries at the end of the season?
No, but it was funny that you said Tyler Seguin. So let me just try to look this up. From Darren Dreger. As the Lightning enjoyed a much-deserved Stanley Cup victory, we will soon learn of the myriad of injuries players from both teams played with. Sounds like Tyler Seguin played through knee, hip, and groin injuries.
There you go.
Now, and that's it's so obviously. I always tell people the way you learn about cars is get a crappy one, which is why I know so much about the back. So I've done a lot of learning about how everything is connected down in the back and the hips and everything. And I wrote a feature with Andrew Hammond years ago, the Hamburglar. And part of the reason that he fell off the face of the earth wasn't just that, he was the Cinderella story and fell off. It was that he was dealing with this. It was so complicated. I don't remember what the initial injury was. I think it might've been something in his back that went down to his knee, or it might've been something in his knee that went up to his back and also screwed up his hip. And if you're a goalie and you don't have hips, you're toast.
You're right.
Right. So Seguin's whole chain from his back down to his knee, like what are you supposed to do? You only got 2 legs.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do, man? And we're criticizing the guy, his lack of finishing ability. It's always the same with this guy. Meanwhile, he's playing with half a lower body by the sounds of it.
Yeah. It seems like every guy by the end of every playoffs is injured. There's some little tweak. These guys, they're professional athletes, and they're too big and too skilled to not get injured. They're playing at such a high level. It's the highest level you can get, and they're going for 2 months straight. So the injuries are understandable.
Yeah, well, and I think that might be part of the reason why GMs and coaches sort of lean towards let's be the bigger, meaner team.
Yeah.
Because over the course of a regular season, it's 82 games. Stuff's going to happen. But when you get into this playoff scenario, it's this war. Like, you don't even need to be the better team. You just need to be close enough in skill and wear them down.
Sometimes we talk survive.
Yeah, we talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning were clearly the best team, even without Stamkos. It's so amazing. You add a healthy Ben Bishop and Radek Faksa and then you take away the injuries that Tyler Seguin was playing through. Do the Dallas Stars win the Stanley Cup? They probably get closer to it. But whose problem is that? The Dallas Stars. It's not Tampa's problem.
Right.
It just is. It is what it is, man. It is what it is.
So do you want to put a nice bow on the 2020 bubble hockey season? It's a miracle. I don't think we spent enough time on this. It's the miracle that they played hockey, that they were able to do this whole thing with 0 positive tests, that they awarded a Stanley Cup, that it felt like there. I know there was a tweet that tried to denigrate the Stanley Cup being handed out.
Oh, let's talk about that.
No. We're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk about Damian Cox saying that this Stanley Cup wasn't as hard fought as other ones because there was no travel. We're gonna just move on from that. But
guys, if you here one sentence, Jesse,
you get
one sentence.
I'm gonna start a timer. Okay. I'm gonna give you some time here. You get 30 seconds. Let me just go to stopwatch on Google. I'm gonna hit reset. I'm gonna hit start in 30 seconds on Damian Cox being an asshole. 3, 2, 1, go.
If you stop retweeting Damian Cox, he goes away. He's not like all these other personalities where he's on a billion different platforms. I'm not sure how you escape Skip Bayless. It's easy to escape Damian Cox these days. You don't have to retweet him. You don't. Can you believe that he said this? Yes! So stop. That's it.
Oh!
You keep those 5 seconds.
You had 5 seconds to spare and you didn't use them.
Keep them. I don't need them. Keep them.
Right.
You know, if you stop retweeting him, he goes away forever.
The NHL sent out a series of tweets in their official Twitter account at the end of the game afterward, just thanking everybody who made this possible. So, like, I just want to also send my thanks to like all the doctors and nurses who are doing the tests in the bubble, just all the cleaning staff there. Like, I don't know what was involved in getting Toronto and Edmonton ready and then completed. You know, there must have been so much work behind the scenes that we didn't see. So congrats to all those people for getting it done. It's incredible that we actually got a Stanley Cup champion in the middle of a pandemic. It was really cool.
Yeah. And it's a shame. I don't know if they're getting enough credit because I think as a society, I think we're all just worn out. And I don't think it has anything to do with the hockey. I bet the hockey and Dallas Stars fans are going to get mad at me. Oh, now you realize. But I think the hockey was probably better than we even gave it credit. And it's just we're all exhausted. We're all mentally exhausted. You know, we're not giving enough credit to how incredible this all was. The fact that the NBA is still ongoing and they've pulled it off, you know, smoothly. Mm-hmm. And the NHL actually crossed the playing finish line. All they got to do is get to free agency. There are so many things that could go wrong logistically with the draft. Can you imagine like some team misses out on something because, dude, the Leafs missed out on a trade once because the fax machine did not work.
Right.
Imagine what is it going to be 31 or 32 general
on a
managers?
Zoom?
Oh my God!
You got
Imagine
Lou
it gets
Lamoriello
hacked.
there. Yeah, just be like, oh, how do I work this Zoom?
Yeah,
Draft someone.
And with the 7th overall pick, the New Jersey Devils select Baba Booey, and the friggin' thing gets hacked. And then what do?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the next day of the draft, but they got to cross the playing finish line. That was the hardest part. I gotta, you know, this is a ridiculous way to feel, but the Tampa Bay Lightning showed a video of them landing on the tarmac and all the players getting to finally see their family. And there's this picture of Victor Hedman embracing his wife or fiance, I'm not sure. And like just genuine raw emotions. And it almost made me feel bad for watching.
Aww.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just what the players had to go through. And I think there's a good reason we haven't seen the Dallas Stars one, because is there a worse possible year to lose in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
You've been away from your family for 65 days. At least Tampa got to go on a fun little plane ride.
Yeah, at least you win.
Dallas, and they won. Dallas was stuck in the same bubble the whole time. The exact same one. Tampa didn't even get the change. Dallas didn't even get the change of scenery for your brain to adjust to. They were stuck in the same bubble for 65 days and have a Western Conference championship to show for it. What's the name of the Western Conference championship trophy?
The Larry Bishop Trophy.
That's a made-up human being.
I threw two old guy names together. I'm proud of myself.
I think there's the Prince of Wales Trophy and is it the Clarence Campbell Trophy? And I don't know which.
Sounds right.
Yeah, I don't know which. Clarence Campbell is definitely best friends with Larry Bishop.
Oh yeah, they were buds back they went to high tea together.
They went to high tea together, and then later in the afternoon, laid down some brick, and at night they played for the Montreal Maroons.
Right.
Larry Bishop and Clarence Campbell. Yeah, you don't play to win silver in the Olympics, and you don't play to
what's the old phrase?
Win the Western
you don't win silver, you lose gold.
You win bronze, you lose silver or something.
Right.
Like yours is better. Yours is better.
Yeah, same difference.
I feel really bad for the Dallas Stars. It's always heartbreaking when you see the guys. I still remember Ryan Kessler on the ice, just in tears, and Brad Marchand last year. And naturally, we were all really nice to them and didn't make fun of them for that. But this is the worst year to lose the Stanley Cup ever.
Yeah,
ever. Name a worse one. I don't think you can.
That's why shame on anyone who tries to denigrate this Stanley Cup. How dare you?
Yeah.
Speaking to no one in particular. How dare you?
The idea that road travel is what makes winning in hockey hard. Guys look forward to going to Vancouver on the road. Hey, we're going to go to Roxy. You probably got friends there. Maybe you played there. You go see your old billet family or whatever. And there's something to do. There's something to look forward to in each city on the road. You go to Florida, I'm going to go get a tan. Oh, it's a Florida road trip. That means I'm going to get 4 days worth of tan. The California road trip. There's something to do everywhere. You go on little team field trips. What did these guys do?
Right.
I think
out in Edmonton.
You got to play Frisbee with a shirtless Rod Brindamore feeling uncomfortable as hell, and you got packed into a bus to go golfing once or twice, I think. And then Tampa had to leave a bubble with a pool to supposedly Edmonton didn't even have a pool.
Yeah, the worst bubble, they called it. That ESPN article, if anybody out there, you haven't read it, there's Greg Wyshynski, and did he do it with Emily Kaplan?
I think he did, yes.
Yeah, I think they combined on an article, and they had a bunch of anonymous quotes from hockey players and GMs inside of the bubble, and they really broke down what bubble life was, and it was so not as advertised. They were even the golf trip you mentioned, they're one team went golfing once. So they're how do you expect us to organize a golf trip in between game 4 and 5 of the second round? In the ass. That would, because it was either everyone went or no one went. So they said one time Washington had a day off in between the preliminary games to go, and that was the only team that went golfing. Which is
and then what happened? And then everyone's Washington didn't even give a shit about being there.
And then all these leaks happen, and then they get shitted on. So yeah, the bubble life was not glamorous at all. It wasn't a resort like people are claiming. The food was a big deal too in the article. It was just the food was the same every day. Guys
Didn't they have to pay?
Yeah, and a lot of guys said you had to pay out of your pocket if you want to order Uber Eats and stuff. And then other teams, oh my God, the article is so good. Other teams, their owners who would own, say their owner owns Wendy's. So it's the owner of the Florida Panthers also owns Wendy's. This is all hypothetical. So all the guys on the Panthers would get hooked up with Wendy's while in the bubble. But all the other teams were hey, what the fuck? We don't get Wendy's. So they were looking to their own GMs and owners being like, hey, if Toronto has this, Toronto gets Freshie every day, why don't we get Freshie? So there's these competing things too. And then they had the hotel food, which was just like steak and vegetables every day. And they're like, I can't eat steak and vegetables every day for 2 months. I like steak, but who do you think I am? I'm not a
team
bear.
nutritionist just having an absolute breakdown after like a week.
Anyways, so yeah, the Stanley Cup this year probably and you made the great point earlier too when you said that we don't probably appreciate how good the hockey was. The lack of travel probably made the hockey better. If you have guys who are just all they're doing is playing hockey, resting. Their bodies were probably phenomenal for these 2 months because they're not getting on planes, they're not moving, they're not going out anywhere. They're just kind of resting and playing hockey. So yeah, your point about the hockey being good, it was probably the highest we'd ever seen it.
Travel is brutal when you're injured or battling an injury. That was another thing Andrew Hammond talked about in the article that I mentioned, because he was dealing with these injuries when he was riding a bus in the minors, right? I saw an interview recently of Todd Fedoruk on Spit and Chicklets. There's a legendary fight on YouTube where he chases down Derek Boogaard, asking for it, which, why? It's Derek Boogaard. I don't care if you're a tough guy. Boogaard throws 3 punches. The third one connects and literally shatters Fedoruk's face. What's the next thing Fedoruk's got to do? Get on a plane, where he then looks like some monstrosity. He's got an elbow coming out of his cheek. Travel is awful on these guys. So it would be harder. It would be harder to win this Stanley Cup, or easier, if Tampa had to do no travel and Dallas was just they arbitrarily threw them on a plane and made them travel between games for no good reason.
Fly around the country for no reason.
But that didn't bloody happen.
No.
That didn't bloody happen.
They
all
did the
played
same thing.
They played under equal circumstances. The only competitive advantage one team might have had from the other is one got Wendy's. Supposedly, according to what you're saying.
Right.
Does this push me over the 30 seconds? No.
I feel like we talked about it a lot longer.
No.
All right. So the biggest hockey news, probably outside of the Stanley Cup Finals, that dropped today was Henrik Lundqvist, bought out by the New York Rangers. Steve, what do you think? What does this mean for the Rangers? Also, you sent a tweet that was very interesting about their cap situation.
Oh, the one that I sent to the group chat. So I think it was from Cap Friendly, and I'm trying to bring it up right now. And this is how I stall for time. I sent a lot of tweets to you guys. Here it is. The New York Rangers have now consumed 15.9% of their total available cap space for the 2020-2021 season as a result of player buyouts. 15.9%, by the way, is $12,994,444. For all intents and purposes, that is $13 million in dead cap, and it is broken down thusly. Kevin Shattenkirk, just under 6.1 against the cap. Henrik Lundqvist, $5.5 million against the cap. Dan Girardi, just over $1.1 million against the cap. Ryan Spooner, $300,000 against the cap. It's negligible, but when the cap's not going up, it's pretty tough. And then, of course, there's Brad Richards, who was a compliance buyout, so he's $0. Wow. Is that ever awful?
Yeah.
Now,
go ahead.
Well, so a lot of people were, because I said, well, the Rangers are getting ready to make some noise. And people were rightly like, what the hell are you talking about, Steve? They have $13 million dedicated to dead contracts. Well, I'm looking at their cap friendly, and I'm looking at the way their team is built. They need maybe 3 more defensemen to add to the team. Well, they got to give Tony DeAngelo a contract extension. They got to give Georgiev a contract extension. You know, they have a few other RFAs, none that I think are going to get a really big payday. and they still have $23.1 million in cap space to deal with. D'Angelo and Georgiev are not going to take up $23 million. So I don't think you get rid of the Mark Stahl and Henrik Lundqvist deals to get out of the rain. I don't think you do that just for something to do. I think the Rangers, like any New York team should really, are looking to go into free agency and make some noise. Are they going to get a guy like Pietrangelo? No, I don't think so. But I could see them contending for a Hall or even a Hoffman, or they're going to go out there and they're going to make some noise. And not just that, they have the first overall pick. Everyone's forgetting. They've drafted really well.
That as well.
Yeah, they've drafted really well recently. They have a lot of draft picks. They have Carolina's first round pick, 22nd overall, that they need like a hole in the head. You lucked out and got the first overall pick. If I was the Rangers, I'd punt that thing out the door right away to get a guy who can play on my roster right now, and that will help me fill one of the holes on D. The New York Rangers, we talked about this, man. I love what they're doing with their rebuild, and when you are a powerhouse like them financially, I don't think you intend on being bad for very long. They flexed their muscle with Artemi Panarin last year. That Jacob Trouba contract is terrible, by the way.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be with this whole financial situation. A lot of teams are. I don't think the Rangers are.
It's weird to think about how much space they have, considering you take away $13 million from it. Like, how much more space would they have if they didn't have these buyouts? Yeah, because and that says about their team, they have so many entry-level deals that are under $1 million.
And, they could still, Chris Kreider just got his ridiculous extension, but he's been rumored to be traded forever. Mm-hmm. So they could still trade him. People always forget that you are allowed to make trades. You are. They could still go out and trade Alexander Georgiev, even though they bought out Henrik Lundqvist. They could, if they wanted to. They have so many options, these guys. I wouldn't put anything past them. That you're getting too caught up in the $13 million in dead space, and you're not looking hard enough at everything else they have at the ready, including $23.1 million in cap space.
Ridiculous.
It's crazy. A lot, man.
So
but I guess with regard to Lundqvist, who we didn't really talk about, it's such a shame. I hope he calls it quits. I know a lot of people are like, I hope he goes to another team and he tries to contend for a cup. I would like him to contend for a cup with the New York Rangers in a managerial role or a coaching role or something like that. He's a Ranger.
I think if he was going to retire, this buyout wouldn't have happened. Don't you got to think that? You got to think, okay, if they had talked to him, because you're not going to not talk to the guy. You go to Henrik, you say, are you going to retire? He says, no, I still want to play. So they say, okay, you're not playing for us. We got to buy you out. Because if he was going to retire, then he retires a Ranger and you avoid all this buyout stuff. And there was a point number 7 in 31 Thoughts. It said, the Rangers made Lundqvist's buyout official on Wednesday, but expect them to bend over backward to treat him as royalty. One thing they've adamantly refused to do is speculate on his next steps, believing it is the future Hall of Famer's right to address it. So it sounds like they know what he wants to do, and it sounds like he wants to keep playing, else he would have probably announced his retirement and avoided this buyout. And I'm not going to call it an embarrassment, because it's not embarrassing when you're Henrik Lundqvist. You've done enough in your career where you can't get embarrassed at this point. But you don't want to be bought out by the team you've been with your entire career. You want to avoid this.
It's too fresh, though. Like people are like, who is Ty Domi a Leaf legend? Like, is he beloved? He's beloved in Toronto.
Yes.
What about Darcy Tucker?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were both bought out of their final contracts with the Leafs.
Right.
Or was Domi? I think Domi was like, they traded his rights to Nashville or something like that. Like Domi was a Nashville Predator for a hot minute or something like that. They were both pitched out of town unceremoniously.
Mm-hmm.
And then that stings for a bit. And then a few years later, you forget about it. I saw, I wonder if Henrik Lundqvist would consider signing with the Chicago Blackhawks. And I'm like, oh, that would look so yucky.
He's going to sign somewhere. Somebody needs a backup goalie for cheap.
Oh, you think?
And the worst thing is he might still have it. It's like the Rangers had to force Henrik out the door because they have, 2, maybe 3 goalies that could start for them. So, yeah. So there's no room for Henrik there, but he could still be a starter / 1A, 1B for a team in this league. We haven't seen it. We don't know.
I tell you what, if Henrik Lundqvist comes back and plays this upcoming season, I hope he plays the next 2 following as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see this Martin Brodeur crap where he played 5 or 6 games with the stupid Blues.
Yeah, you don't want Brett Favre in his last year with Minnesota.
I'm only calling the Blues stupid because, they were stupid when they had Brodeur. That looks stupid. So, okay, I'm looking at this. This was something that Brodeur ruined, by the way, when he left the New Jersey Devils. So I'm looking now at the list of all-time playoff wins for goalies. Patrick Waugh is so far ahead of everybody else with 151. Brodeur is second with 113. But Brodeur would have the most ever for a goalie who played his whole career with one team. But he screwed it up.
Yep.
Because he didn't play his whole career with one team. Ed Belfour's not on that list. Grant Fuhr's not on that list. Billy Smith is. So Billy Smith holds the record with 88 playoff wins, all played with the New York Islanders. Henrik Lundqvist is at 61. But I believe in the regular season, I think he might be number 1. I got to check it out. So he's 6th all-time in NHL wins, 459. And none of the top 5 guys have played all their games with one team. It's Brodeur, Waugh, Luongo, Belfour, Fleury. Every single one of those guys played for more than one team. Henrik Lundqvist is a Ranger, man, and I'm going to be really upset. It's going to look so icky.
Mm-hmm.
And to give you guys an idea, so this was something that Jason York got lit up for on Ice Surfing, because basically what he said is it's not the Hockey Hall of Very Good.
Oh, no. Is he saying Lundqvist isn't the Hall? Because that's a bad take.
I told him I disagree with it.
What number did you literally just read? 6th all time in wins. That alone,
regular season wins.
Alone, that's a number that's like 500 home runs. That there's a number that's okay. We put you in the Hall of Fame.
In terms of advanced goalie metrics, now, granted, I don't know exactly how this is measured, but from Evolving Hockey, since 2007, which is basically when analytics kind of started, everything before that is it's not really available. Since 2007, Henrik Lundqvist provided 57.2 wins above replacement to the Rangers, close to 20 more than the next goalie, which was Carey Price.
How much?
57 wins above replacement. So basically, if you had a replacement level goalie, like just an average guy, the Rangers would have won 57 fewer games.
Yeah. The chart is based on 0. So an average would be a replacement level is 0. So anything above that is an extra win. So he's 57 above the 0. It's crazy.
Over that same span, Lundqvist saved 278 goals above expected during the regular season. What?
I like how you say these numbers.
The next goaltender is Jarro Halak, surprisingly, at 96. So Henrik Lundqvist, from 2007 onward, stopped 278 more goals than just regular run-of-the-mill NHL goalie. And by the way, NHL goalies are the best goalies in the world. That's how much better Henrik Lundqvist was and is than the average NHL goalie. 270 teams allow 278 goals against in a season. The guy did everything but deliver a Stanley Cup on a platter to the New York Rangers. And he would have had the most deserving Conn Smythe ever probably in 2014 had the Rangers beat the Kings. They did not.
That was a fun run.
Shame.
I remember that Stanley Cup run for both the Kings. The Kings, that was the year they were the 8th seed, right?
No, that was 2012.
Oh, that was 2012. Okay.
That was 2012, and they played the Devils. And then 2014, they played the Rangers, and that was the one where Alec Martinez scored the overtime winner to win the Cup against Henrik Lundqvist. And you saw the look in his face. Like, one thing I've made fun of Henrik Lundqvist for in the past is, as a veteran goalie in the league, if you get yanked, you can't then go to the bench and have these ridiculous puppy dog eyes. And he did it so often. But I think if you just lose the Stanley Cup, I don't know. It's about the worst I've felt for a player after they've lost, because it was kind of cool to see the Kings win again. I was pulling for the Kings to win because I was going to LA for my honeymoon like a month later or something like that. So I thought that would have been cool. But then I saw the look on his face and I'm just like, oh, he may never get it now. And he didn't. Unless he does. Unless he goes somewhere and he does. Hey, crazier things have happened. What if, so in 31 Thoughts, Elliot Friedman said the Vegas Golden Knights don't want to buy out Marc-Andre Fleury. What if there's a Marc-Andre Fleury trade, they sign Robin Lehner, and who's the backup? Imagine Henrik Lundqvist, Robin Lehner.
That team is going to keep being good. It seems like there's nothing stopping Vegas from being good. Every time there's a free agent, they're always in on it. And Petro's another one where it's like, okay, if he hits free agency, he might land in Vegas because they have all the money in the world and all they want to do is spend it.
The Western Conference Final for the next 2 years is Colorado versus Vegas unless something happens.
Yeah.
Right? It should have been Colorado-Vegas this year. And they ran out of goalies. A team that came within 2 wins of winning the Stanley Cup lost 2 out of 3 games to Michael Hutchison. That's how good the Avalanche are.
It feels like that's a team that's on the similar trajectory as Tampa was, where it's like, okay, this team's really good, but when are they just going to break through? So it feels like if they keep everything stable in Colorado and get those extra pieces around them like they were doing in Tampa for all these years, that they're probably going to luck out and get at least a cup in here in the next decade.
Who's Tampa's third goalie?
No idea.
Me neither. Yeah. Like, we never had to find out. That's what Colorado was down to. They had to go to their third goalie, and it wasn't even a good one. Mm-hmm. I don't think Curtis McElhinney played a minute in the bubble, did he? I think he was professional, polite baseball cap wearer is basically what he did. If Tampa had to contend with Colorado did, they probably don't make it past the Islanders.
Yeah, different story.
Do they make it past the Bruins? Even if they have some AHL guy, I don't know.
How long was that? That was 6 games, right? The Bruins series?
I think it was 5.
5? Okay. Maybe they win that one.
Sure. Maybe.
There was another point in 31 Thoughts that I feel like we should touch on. So Elliot wrote, it was one sentence. He'd sometimes write thoughts and it's just a little blurb and he drops a little in there.
I like those ones.
Yeah. This one seems significant, though. Not sure if it's even possible, but I think Arizona and Vancouver had OEL conversation. Now,
so
do we think OEL is a landing spot that could work in Vancouver? Pull up their cap friendly, Steve. Let me know what you think about their roster and if you think he'd be a good fit.
Okay, so I am going to look at the Vancouver Canucks, all right? No. Okay, so they have $14 million, $14.3 million for this upcoming season. wow, that's a lot of cap space, you might say. Well, okay. Up front, they got Zach McEwen, who's an RFA. Okay, whatever. For Tannen, who's an RFA, that's a lot more interesting. He scored over 20 goals. Tyler Toffoli, who's an UFA, who they got at the deadline. Okay, Tyler Mott, decent little depth player. Josh Levo is a UFA. I would like to see him back in a certain place. And Adam Gaudette. Okay, not that big a deal. Troy Stetcher, RFA. Oh, I don't really want to lose him. Chris Tanev is a UFA. Oh, I definitely don't want to lose him. And then Oscar Fantenberg. And in net, you're going to – Thatcher Demko is your starter because he played 3 very good games in the bubble?
Maybe.
His numbers weren't great this season because you're about to lose potentially Jakob Markstrom. So they have a lot of space, but it's not a ton when you consider what they're possibly losing. So the Arizona Coyotes, though, they need money badly, and they need draft picks. Where I don't see Vancouver as a good dance partner is they don't have their first or second rounder this year. What I do see as a potential match for the Arizona Coyotes is they basically just need to be a garbage dump for bad contracts that don't have a lot of money left on them because they done goofed. So it's amazing. I never would have thought we'd be saying this the way we talked about OEL a few years ago and his giant contract, but like Louis Eriksson basically has to go the other way,
right?
In order to make this deal work. So he's got 2 years left. His $3 million signing bonus has already been paid, so he only makes $1 million this season if you're the Arizona Coyotes. And then next year it's inverse. He's got a $1 million signing bonus and a $3 million base. I don't understand how this works, and I know Elliot pointed that out as well. I just don't understand.
Now,
I don't understand.
That 31 thought, I think it was like number 9 or 12 or something, that was followed up by an article by Pierre LeBrun. Actually, I don't know which one came out first. When did 31 Thoughts come out? Probably besides the point.
This morning?
This morning, okay.
Or last night? I don't remember.
Yeah,
sorry, Leo 30th. Didn't sleep last night. I don't know.
So
anything.
on the 30th, so today, Elliot writes that little note about OEL. But 2 days before that, on the 28th, Pierre LeBrun interviewed Bill Armstrong. And he asked him, obviously, in their conversation about Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And I'll read a little excerpt from that. It says, for one, OEL has a full no trade, no move. All roads lead through him and his agent, Kevin Knapp of Titan Sports Management. Would OEL waive, depending on the team? And is there an offer great enough for Armstrong to make that big of a blockbuster this early in his GM career? One thing's for sure, there is certainly OEL chatter out there. Well, I think, and this is what Bill Armstrong says, well, I think other people have really pushed it out there, said Armstrong. But he's our captain. He plays 23 minutes a night. I've heard his name splashed around everywhere, but I can tell you, I haven't splashed his name around. I can tell you that. He's a good player for this organization. I'm a big fan of his, just watching him and how he's got better and better. So it's a situation where I'll have to explore why his name is out there as much as it is. But at the end of the day, he's got a no-trade clause. If you got a no-trade clause, it's not the club that's splashing it around, you know? So that happening 2 days before Elliot reporting that Vancouver and Arizona have been talking leads me to believe that Oliver Ekman-Larsson is the one who wants out of the door. Would you agree with that, Steve?
It sure sounds like it. Dude, the Arizona Coyotes are in a genuinely terrible situation where they're sort of like the Sens, where I'm like, dude, how do you ice a hockey club this year? Clayton Keller, I believe, was mentioned in 31 Thoughts as potentially heading out the door. Wasn't that like supposed to be the guy you were going to basically build the team around up front?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? What are you doing? So there's your captain is supposedly getting traded. That's on the older side. That's on the past. But your future is reportedly potentially heading out the door. Why? Because you have to pay that guy money. And LOL, who has time for that? You don't have any picks in the first 3 rounds this year, and you don't have a first or a third next year. What is your intention exactly? So on the OEL stuff from Jason Greger at TSN, he tweets, if OEL is available, then the Oilers should be interested. So there's another key.
Agreed. Yeah.
The concern of possible final 2 years of his deal being an issue are overshadowed by the fact he is a legit number 1 D-man now and will be for at least 5 years. Now, not everyone will agree with you there. Don't sell the farm, but the Yotes aren't in a position of strength, he said. Darren Dreger responds, what's the farm? Arizona will want a first and likely one of the Oilers' young developing blue liners. Edmonton would also likely need the Coyotes to take another contract back to offset the OEL cap hit. As we reported yesterday, there have been discussions, unclear if there's a fit. So, like I said, probably the number one thing besides money that the Coyotes need is draft capital. The Canucks don't really have it. The Oilers, there's another not great fit. So they do have their first. So that's good. But they don't have their second or their third. Who on the Oilers is getting pitched out the door? Oh,
you're probably taking it from the forward group, right?
Well, Arizona supposedly is going to want a blue liner, like Dreger said.
Right.
So Elliott then had this to say. One situation Edmonton is monitoring, because a lot of Oilers fans were like, why the hell are we taking on OEL? We can't afford this. Mm-hmm. Elliott said, one situation Edmonton is monitoring. Oscar Klefbom is weighing options to deal with injuries from last season. One of the possibilities is surgery that could keep him out long term. Obviously, we don't know when next season will begin. His absence will need to be addressed. So Klefbom would go on IR, but you're still taking on like $4 million or something? Because what does OEL make? 8.5?
8.25, I believe.
8.25. Klefbom is just under 4.2. So you're looking at taking on just over 4.1 in that deal. They have $11 million in cap space. It looks like Andreas Athanasiou, who they paid 2 second-rounders and Sam Gagner for, they're not even going to qualify. Riley Shan's a UFA. Does he walk? Tyler Ennis is a UFA. Does he walk? Matthew Betting, supposedly they might not qualify. I was reading. And then Ethan Barry, you just can't afford to lose. Boy.
I enjoy gambling on football. You know, I like placing bets on football games. And it's not really about picking right. You know, it's about just playing the odds. What's more likely to happen? And then you kind of place your money where it is. And then hopefully you end up more right than you are wrong in the end. You know, so if I was to place a bet on is OEL going to be an Arizona Coyote when the 2020/2021 season starts, I would place a bet on no. There just seems there's way too many hurdles here for this organization to keep a contract that big on the books. And it seems like a guy who had his bonuses up in the air, less than a month ago. And then now we hear all this chatter.
Like 2 weeks ago.
That was like 3 podcasts ago. You know, it doesn't seem like this is going to work out here. And this franchise itself, how does it survive? Well, I shouldn't say how does it survive in Arizona, because they survived bankruptcy.
Cockroach.
How is this franchise surviving in Arizona moving forward when they can't afford to pay anybody? They can't field a team, and they have no draft picks for the future for the team.
And then Elliott was also saying, what happens this upcoming season is extremely complicated, because there's the issue of, will it be an 82-game season, and will players be compensated their full salary? Because if, you know, your salary is based on an 82-game season, what if it's only 70? What if it's 48?
And do we have gate revenue? Are there fans?
Et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. The other thing that he mentioned in there, all players, basically all the dates are messed up because the season should be starting like tomorrow. and it's not. Supposedly the first salary check is due on Halloween. So there's a little bit of urgency here, because if you want to save money and you're going to do one of these dumping sort of deals and you're the Coyotes, it doesn't even necessarily have to be Oliver Ekman-Larsson. You're going to want to make it before you got to pay that check.
Are they going to negotiate that the checks don't get started until they start playing? Because
the players fight tooth and nail against that.
All right.
We just agreed to this bubble.
All right.
Bunch of jerks.
If free agency starts next Friday, right? So
Yes.
Free agency technically lasts forever, because until the playoffs. But when does the movement of the shifting of the rosters start, and then your regular payments of the guys start? Like how? Because that's usually July. Because you said it usually starts the 31st. So it'd usually be July 1st to October 31st from when you get to set a roster to when you have to pay a guy a paycheck. So should it not be if it's October 9th to, what would that'd be like January? Should you not get that runway as well? You could argue that.
Yeah, but then it's like, hey man, you mind if I pay you that, what was it, $2 million like 2 months late? You know, like these guys are playing such a higher stakes game than we are.
Yeah.
And then some people might go, well, yeah, I don't think they have mortgage payments. I bet they do. Like Adam's said this in the past, like they don't, you know, they're not driving around. Not everyone is Ben Scrivens, you know,
right.
driving a 15-year-old car out of the Leafs practice facility. These guys, you know, are making $6, $7, $8 million, and they spend accordingly.
They're living at their budgets, you know?
They're living at their budgets. And, you know, I'm not telling you to feel sorry for them. I'm just telling you that if you look at the amount of money they make and go, well, why can't they go 2 months with it? That's why. That's why. You ever see a clip? Remember the Vegas Golden Knights did that promo in a parking lot? You see Jonathan Marchessault drive to the arena in a beater? That was like a Bentley or a Lambo or something.
It was a Lambo company in Vegas that let him drive it for free the entire playoffs.
He got to drive a Lambo for free. This is the life. You got to stop thinking about it like us, right? So you want to pay me 2 months late? You were on drugs.
No,
you can try. You can try. And
they'll try.
They'll try. And this is the thing that just made my stomach turn in what Elliot said. So we just breathed the sigh of relief that the CBA got extended long term, because there was finally peace between the players and the owners. And you know what will disrupt that real fast is if the players make all these concessions to make the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs happen, and then the owners turn around and go, by the way, we're only going to pay you 50 to 75% of your salary because we're only going to play 50 to 75% of the season.
Right. Joke's on you. We're not conceding on anything.
And once again, the players, like this, again, if you're a player, if you're in the PA, why should you ever do the owners a favor? Because here it is again. You make a concession, and they go, thanks, and they don't repay you. And I know it's special circumstances, but how are you ever going to give them anything ever again, knowing that they will not make good on it? How? And yeah, circumstances. Do you care? Do you care? I signed this deal. It's a guaranteed damn deal. Pay it. Pay the money on the paper. It's going to be a wild. I'm waiting for, like Justin Bourne tweeted, it's just going to be bomb after bomb. Like Henrik Lundqvist getting bought out, to me, that's not a bomb. Not yet.
Well,
like that,
it was expected on most fronts, you know?
We knew something like that might happen, even without a pandemic. We did.
Yeah. We
knew something like that might happen. All the stuff like Jim Rutherford's doing, like I'm waiting on the Coyotes bubble to burst. Jack Eichel. Dude, how haven't we even brought up Jack Eichel's name?
Well, we're getting there. Do you want? Let's go there now.
Let's do it. Bob McKenzie just waking up and deciding to drop that bomb.
Right. So give me a second here. I've got to pull it up. But yes, I think that's important to touch on. So
it's one of those things that we try to be shrinks and we go, Jack Eichel, he must want out. He must want this. He must want that. And Bob McKenzie kind of gave it some legitimacy.
yeah, so this is a tweet thread from supposedly retired Bob McKenzie, who is clearly very active. He says, imagine my surprise when I started making calls today and heard Jack Eichel trade rumors, including unverified chatter he may have at some point recently requested a trade out of Buffalo and that New York were amongst interested teams. This, of course, required further investigating. Second tweet. I hear that trade talk a lot. Eichel's agent, Peter Fish, said, Jack wants to win. He's frustrated not winning, but no, he doesn't want out. Jack is preparing to head to Buffalo at some point here and prepare for the season, whenever that may be. That's all he controls. The messaging out of Buffalo is Sabres aren't shopping Eichel. There's no real desire to trade him, but since Kevin Adams became new GM, several clubs have called about Eichel's availability. New York believed to be one of the teams that called. So calls were made, calls were taken. None of those talks with other clubs resulted in Eichel trade traction, but it's also believed that there has been dialogue between Eichel and Buffalo to ensure they both want the same thing. To get better, obviously, and share the same timeline. This is all Bob, by the way, after Peter Fish's comments. So the face value review appears to be as follows. Eichel doesn't want out of Buffalo. Buffalo doesn't want to trade Eichel. Move along, nothing to see here. Fair enough. But some rumors are worth checking out / mentioning, which is what I've done now. Now back to draft prep.
So I'm back, by the way. Hi. My daughter woke up in the middle of the recording. I had to get her back to sleep. It took a little while, but we're good. So I'm really happy to hear that. I'm going to talk a little bit lower. But what I'll say is this, guys. I won't say anything. It's a question. Can you win a trade with Jack Eichel when Jack Eichel is leaving your team?
Here, counter question. If you're the Buffalo Sabres, can you win a trade? That's it.
That's it.
That's funny.
Like, if you're Jack, okay, I'm looking at the Buffalo Sabres right now. So what do you got? You got me. Your second highest paid player is Jeff Skinner, who scored, I think it was 11 goals last year. He's making 9. Your next highest paid player is Kyle Okposo. Then there's Eric Stahl, who you just acquired. They're the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Sabres' fifth highest paid forward is Curtis Lazar, making $800,000, and the reason for that is they don't have any other signed forwards, unless it's prospects. Their signed defense core is as follows: Rasmus Ristolainen, Colin Miller, Jake McCabe, Henry. Okay, how are you? And Lawrence Pilou, he's a free agent. Rasmus Dahlin, I missed. And you got Carter Hutton signed and no goalie. So Jack Eichel wants to win. It's the most important thing to him. He has his money. Jack Eichel's most important thing to him is he wants to win. How does that conversation go if you're Kevin Adams? It better be a long one. It's not short. How do you explain to Jack Eichel you're about to win with that team? Or you're even going to contend for a playoff spot? You don't have a team. You don't have one. Help is not on the way like so many teams. Like, we keep talking about the Rangers, and I look at all these gaps in their roster and how they're going to fill them. And I'm like, yeah, but at least they have prospects. Buffalo got – what do they got? Dahlin is going to get better every year, and that's a special talent. What else you got?
That's the question, right? It's sort of like and you wonder, I know that they've had a lot of general manager changes. I know that. But some people, until Kevin Adams anyway, came in and cleaned house, had been there the whole time. And it makes you wonder, like, what was going on? Like, what did you swing and miss on that many picks? What happened to these? Where is everybody? Like, really, where is everybody? Where did they all go? They left the party.
You talk about guys, not breaking up the core when the core is good. Like, why is Zemgus Girgensson still there? Get out of here.
That's a good question.
Get out. Like, there's It's just a mess of an organization.
For that matter, why is Rasmus Ristolainen in there when they've tried to trade him 18 times?
Get out of here.
Pull the trigger.
Another one.
Just do it.
It's like the Galchenyuk thing that we talked about. Stop talking about trading him and trade him. He asked for one. You know what's going to be a very interesting storyline when they do announce that the NHL season is coming back is how many guys who were loaned overseas and then they go, hey, come back. And they could just go, no. Like, I wonder, because Palu or Palut, I don't know how it's pronounced, on the back end for the Sabres, I wonder if he's just going to be like, no, I like it here.
Maybe.
Like, I wonder how many Sabres who have been loaned are going to be like, just when Kevin Adams calls, it's a disconnected phone number.
Adam, you said something interesting about
I doubt that.
There. You asked, where are the guys? So I pulled up quickly their draft history. And since the 2015 draft, so since
it's not going to be good.
Jack Eichel was the 2015 draft. So since then, the 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. After the first round, they have a total of 29 games played on their team for guys drafted outside of the first round. And that was Rasmus Asplund, who played 29 games. Other than that,
it was with them.
No, he played 29 games with the Sabres.
Oh, he did?
Last season. Yeah. It's 3 points, 29 games. After that, there's not a single player drafted after the first round who made a lineup for Buffalo. That's bad drafting.
They're probably the worst drafting team in
every
the
guy
NFL.
named Rasmus? Is that what their thing is?
Adam, if they did that...
How many Rasmi do they have?
Their draft history might be better if they did that.
Yes!
Maybe.
Okay, so there you go. Okay, let's type in 2020 NHL mock draft, and let's find guys named Rasmus.
And they're going to Buffalo.
And that's who they're going to get.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm literally going to look for the first guy named Rasmus. I'll find him. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to find the first guy named Rasmus, and I guarantee, I'm putting it on the show right now, the Buffalo Sabres will get this player. Top-ranked guy named Rasmus. I will find him.
This might take a while.
No, it won't.
Yeah.
No, this is a very good bit.
I don't know if this bit's your best, Steve.
No, it's very good. Well, Jesse, how would you rank them?
Oof, I would definitely rank this 2 Rasmus below par.
Would you just rank it best?
Probably
best.
Not best.
So that basically, it's here's the thing, though. Is this really, because I think it was Darren Dreger that tweeted something along the lines of he wants to stay in Buffalo, but if Buffalo's bad by the trade deadline, he wants to get traded. Well, how are they not going to be?
So you want to get traded? That's not like the first qualifier isn't a thing.
Like unless you throw a gazillion dollars at Alex Pietrangelo, and even then, you just don't have a second line. You don't have a third line. Like I don't know what they do. I really don't. And they've got $33 million in cap space. Steve, yes?
Well, I just read a mock draft, and I don't know what Buffalo is going to do. Because in the mock draft, there was not a single Rasmus.
Wow.
What do you do? If you're the Buffalo Sabres, what do you do? I think you hand your number one thing to fall back on. You can't even rely on it because there's no Rasmi to be seen. I don't know what you do. But did you see part of the reasoning given in an interview? Or no, it wasn't in an interview. I can't remember where I saw it. But basically part of the reasoning for the Sabres not wanting to trade Jack Eichel is, well, we've already paid him his $7.5 million signing bonus this season. It's Jack Eichel! Are you running a hockey team or not? Are you joking? It should be we're not considering trading Jack Eichel, or we don't see the point in trading Jack Eichel because he's Jack Eichel! He's your best player by leaps and bounds. Guy got heart votes and would have got a lot more if your team didn't suck around him. It's because of the money? What, next year when he doesn't have a signing bonus to be paid, it's just a $10 million base, then you trade him? Oh, boy. The Buffalo Sabres got to decide what the hell they're doing. Like, the Arizona Coyotes are, like, at very least they have the excuse of being broke.
Mm-hmm.
And they did something illegal and were punished for it. Right? So now we're going down the rungs. Broke, did something illegal, and were punished. What have the Sabres done other than just be stupid? Wouldn't you rather have gotten caught, testing prospects?
Trying?
Trying! If you're not cheating, you're not trying and all that. What are the Buffalo Sabres doing other than being the dumbest team?
Yeah, what's their excuse?
Well, that's rich coming from a Leaf fan. I don't work for the damn team. And also, at least they are at least masquerading as a competitive team. The Buffalo Sabres are just nakedly shit and have been for the better part of a decade.
Yep.
This rant would be endorsed by Dwayne, by the way. Who he was tweeting, he's like, "Oh, Lord help me if you trade Jack Eichel."
Well, I don't know.
He's going to call into every radio station under an alias.
Do you have a franchise if you don't have him? Like, does it even exist?
Depends on what you get back. Do they get back a star plus picks or something?
No, they can't.
What's the haul for Eichel? I don't know.
Well, okay, so New York Rangers were mentioned in that, and if you're Kevin Adams, you can have him for Alexi Lafreniere. Plus. Because I have Jack Eichel and you don't. You want Jack Eichel. Well, there's one of them.
Well,
so you pay my price or you don't get him.
Alexi Lafreniere was looking forward to going to New York. I mean, he would still be in New York State, just be a very different city.
You gotta watch your language there, Alexi.
That's right.
Gotta be very specific.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jack Eichel in a New York Rangers jersey would be pretty cool. That would be a pretty scary team.
If they get Jack Eichel, all those little holes that they got to fill, who cares? You got a guy who was nominated for the Hart, then Jack Eichel. A pretty young team. Adam Fox got some Calder votes in there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. Like
the Rangers do have some cap space, but they have a lot of their captive. They're paying out a bunch of guys for buyouts still, right?
But then it goes away. It goes away. You're the Rangers. Like if you're the Rangers, the conversation with Jack is a lot easier. So what's your plan to win? Well, next 2 years are going to be kind of hard. Not going to lie. After that, we should be a wagon. If you're the Buffalo Sabres, you're making it up. You're pitching him a fantasy scenario.
With a bunch of guys you don't have on a roster.
Your Kevin Adams pitch to Jack Eichel would not be much different than mine, where I'm just making a team up. Trust me, it'll look like this. Mm-hmm. What do you have to pitch him other than a fantasy? If you're the Rangers, you go concrete, bang, bang, boom. Here's what we have. Here's what we will have. Here's what's here. Here's what's coming. Here's what's leaving. If you're the Sabres, you're like, well, we have nothing. Nothing's coming. Nothing's leaving. Other than our good players. They're trash.
Man, crazy. Depressing.
Trash.
Depressing, It
is depressing.
It's not good. It sucks. I don't like this.
And I praised Kevin Adams for, hey, okay, Eric Stahl to help motivate Jeff Skinner. All right. And I guess Jack Eichel looked at that and went, holy shit, that's our card? All right, bye.
Yeah, maybe. Let's get into quickly on Alex Pietrangelo. We've kind of been back and forth on, does this make sense, right? So there's part of me, and I'm sure part of any Leaf fan that goes, God, it'd be great to have him. Then there's the part that goes, how can you afford him? Then there's the part that goes, he's so good, who cares? But then there's you swing back the other way, and Anthony Petrelli, who, by the way, broke the John Tavares news, guy's a hell of a reporter, writes for Maple Leaf Hot Stove. He wrote a piece, and I'm not going to wreck it for you, but I think you should read it, on why he doesn't think the Leafs should sign Pietrangelo. And I'll give you a couple quick points on it, but the first thing is, yes, he's great. but this is an offensively minded defenseman who isn't necessarily stellar in his own end. Does that sound to you like something the Leafs need?
And his penalty killing microstats supposedly aren't very good.
Right.
Like,
and so when you read this article, and he goes into in depth about it, basically what it says is that you sign Pietrangelo, Morgan Riley, who had 70 points 2 years ago, is now again stepping out of the way and not playing the top power play. When you can get guys like Hamonic, Tanev, Brody, whatever else that you want on the free agent market, and you can debate me on whether or not those guys are going to be worth it for their cost. If you're going to buy a free agent, you're probably going to overpay. But the reason you overpay on free agency is so you don't have to give up draft picks and prospect potential, right? That's the pay you make. If you want to make a trade, and bidding wars. But if you want to make a trade, you're going to lose prospects and you're going to lose picks. Right? If you want to make free agency, you're probably going to overpay a little bit. But with the glut of defensemen on the market, plus potentially a lot of teams cutting salary, this could be the Leafs' year to make that trade and that free agent signing, or two free agent signings or whatever, with the money that Pietrangelo could get. That, and Steve, I think you mentioned it last episode, gives Morgan Riley the right-handed shot guy he needs to just be like chill. Like Morgan can do Morgan, and the other guy can actually defend and maybe make a transitional pass. You know what I mean?
He's Batman. Morgan Riley's Batman.
You need Robin.
Alex Pietrangelo ain't Robin. And, everything that we just talked about with him, because he has defensive warts. I guess they're not quite as pronounced as they are with some other players, but I'm listening to the conversation that we're having about Alex Pietrangelo, and it's just a slightly modified version of what we were saying with Matt Dumba. Would you like him? Of course. Does he provide what you need? No. A bit, but not really. Like the Leafs, of course, they're a better team with Alex Pietrangelo. Of course. And of course, they're a better team with Matt Dumba. Of course. In terms of fit, it's just one of those things where you go out and you get the top guy available because you can, not because it's the best decision. You know what I mean? It's not there. We were talking earlier in the show. I can't remember if you were there for this, Adam. But just get one more guy on the back end, probably at literally a third of what Alex Pietrangelo is going to make this upcoming season. Who's a problem?
Yeah, so $2 to $3 million.
Yeah, get a guy who's a problem.
Well, Gudas you mentioned. I was there for that. And that's like
that's more of what you need than this number one stud all-star guy. Is it not?
Yeah, Morgan Riley, I think it's because he's within the Leafs bubble. Did we not learn this past season when Morgan Riley was out how valuable he is to this team?
Oh, extremely. Extremely.
Extremely. And he's had all this time to recover. He looks great. He so badly needs a Robin. Cody Ceci is not Robin. No. That guy's not even Scarecrow. Like, he's way down the depths of Batman villains even, let alone sidekicks. You need a Robin from Morgan Riley and a problem. Who his Robin can either be a problem or someone who you add on the second or third pair is a problem. I don't think it's as difficult or expensive as we're making it out to be. And we have this jammed up conversation every time we talk about Pietrangelo joining the Leafs. And I think the reason for that is it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So let's get off of this and try to figure out something else. I think I'd rather overpay for someone else.
Well, and I wonder, like if you've got, here's the thing, like if you sign a couple of guys at $4.5 million, you take your chances. They're less good. They're less effective. However, they balance out the roster a little bit better. And I'm just saying a couple guys, like let's say it's Tanev and Brody, just for instance. Okay. This isn't something that we necessarily know they're going to do. Sure. You get two of those guys, you now have trade potential as well, right? What does Travis Dermott get you? What is that worth? What's that potential worth? And the thing is that we discussed this last episode, and I know there were definitely people who disagreed with us, and that's totally cool. But you've got two young guys in Liljegren and Sandin ready to go. They should be ready to go. They should be ready to take over.
Sandin better be ready to go because you just torched the first year of his deal.
And I think he is. I think he very much is. But you look at that and you think, okay, so these guys are ready. You can get it like a Radko Gudas, so you don't have to draw Martin Marincin in every time someone gets injured. But then it's like, those are the things that you could platoon Gudas in, you could, whatever else you want to do. I believe that their money is best spent in smaller waves. They've spent the big money. Let's see you round out this roster properly. And actually, for the first time, have 3 defensive pairings where you go, that's not bad.
Adam, we live near Lake Ontario, which is disgusting. You ever go swimming in it?
Yep.
You ever see the little buoys they have out there to let you know?
Tell you not to go beyond those buoys.
Martin Marincin is that buoy. If he's in your lineup, you've gone too deep. You've gone too deep. If we've learned something from this past season and like the 4 or 5 that came before it, the Martin Marincin waters are too deep. They're too deep. The Dallas Stars were rolling out guys I've never heard of in my entire life in the Stanley Cup final and thriving. You think Martin Marincin's going to put on that performance with the Dallas Stars? Enough with this guy. And he's got a deal. Like, are you serious? He must be the best human being. The best.
Just a good guy.
Just jack biceps from just all the reps in the soup kitchen. And listen, great. You need good people. Mm-hmm. You need good people. Go out and sign Tom Hanks if that's what it's all about, for crying out loud. Does he shoot left or right? Like, Jesus, get good players, man. Get good players. If Martin Marincin's in your lineup, you better be a good swimmer.
Or you better have a really good top 4.
He just can't be in your lineup. He can't.
No, he can't.
Bad Kyle. No. Bad Kyle.
I think Adam's point about the top 4 is important. You can mask.
It is.
You can mask Marincin if your top 4 is all-star.
How about this? Mask Liljegren and Sandin.
There you go.
Mask them? Oh, yeah, with them. Yeah. You can mask. I mean, the Blackhawks won a cup masking Kimmo Timonen, right?
Luke Schenn was on the Lightning.
Yeah.
Luke Schen's a Stanley Cup winning defenseman on a team he played consistently with. He
was still like their 8th or 9th guy, but those are deep waters.
So Martin Marincin can be a 6th
8th or 9th guy.
Yeah.
He's perfect.
No, 9th. What the hell am I sheltering a 28-year-old for? Get out of here. Sick of this. Jesus.
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of true. Like, you can't find one person in Europe who's a little bit better. Not one.
Right.
Anywhere.
You can find one in Europe. You can find one. You can. And I mean, maybe they have with this Lettinen guy. Like, who knows what he's going to be? But the thing is that, like, you can't. Even Calle Rosen. Why is Martin Marincin getting it and Calle Rosen isn't? Like, just
even anything. Like that Warsofsky guy who they got in the Penguins deal for captain. I'm like, can he please? Can he be the buoy? Enough. Oh my God, this guy. He has to be the best person on planet Earth.
Are we doing a press conference today? Not today. Okay.
No. Can I, Steve, you mentioned some, who are you comparing to Robin and Batman villains?
Cody Ceci, I said he wasn't even Scarecrow.
Well, you mentioned that, and I wanted to throw out there one of the worst Batman villains of all time. So
please do.
Batman once had a foe named Ten-Eyed Man. Ten-Eyed Man had 10 eyes, but the 2 on his face didn't work. Instead, he had little eyeballs on the end of his fingertips, which allowed him to see both in front of and behind him simultaneously.
Like this thing from Pan's Labyrinth?
This is an article from Gizmodo, by the way. They put a nice read-up on some of the worst Batman villains of all time. So they wrote, shockingly, having eyeballs on your fingers proves to be more of a liability than powers. He once was thrown a shrub, and when he caught it, his eyes inadvertently stopped working because they were wounded. Ten-Eyed Man.
Wow. It's good to know that even the smart people run out of ideas sometimes. That's amazing.
Thought that was fun.
Well, thank you, Jesse. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Steve's done. I think he's done. He's done.
Dude, it's okay. I got this idea for a villain, see? He's called 10-Eye Man. All right. If I guess and I'm right, I'm firing you on the spot. Okay? Does he have 10 eyes? Well, yeah. Get out of my office. Get out right now. Jesus. It's like if Scarecrow was made of straw. Like,
Also,
Jesus.
You would think that the 10-eyed man would know not to catch stuff. You know, after having 10 eyes his whole life.
They
like,
beat him
why
by
are you
throwing
catching
a
stuff?
shrub at him. And then his eyes were injured.
Like he would know at that point. I'm not supposed to catch stuff, right?
Shrub? Who just has a shrub?
Batman picked up a branch and tossed him to 10-eyed man, and he died.
Well, 10-eyed man should have just like moved a shoulder and like
Just not caught it with his eyes.
Like, I know not to catch things with my eyes. I've had the two of them long enough, you know? I just feel like he would know that. It seems like there's a bit of a plot hole there.
Cody Cece's way better than 10-Eyed Man. Way better.
We did mention that Cody Cece and Tyson Barrie are going to free agency. That's confirmed today, right?
We did not, but...
No.
Well, we knew.
No! Oh, breaking news. Marc Gasol reportedly on the verge of leaving the NBA.
He's going to FC Barcelona or FB Barcelona or whatever it is. Going back home. He's won his championship. He's good.
I'm sorry.
Gentlemen, listen, it's been a good show. I'm sorry I missed half of it, but I love you guys. And we will be back on Sunday as we get closer to free agency. Hopefully, we're going to see some more rumors pick up. And obviously, you know, with the way the schedule is looking, and let me just kind of grid this out here. So next Friday is going to be free agent frenzy. We've got Sunday the 4th, where we'll do a show. Wednesday the 7th, where we'll do a show. And then Sunday the 11th is going to be bonkers.
Well,
bonkers.
Even the Wednesday show, we're going to be recording. I think the final half hour of the draft may still be happening when we start.
I'm excited. It's going to be really good. So the next week should be nice and delicious. Probably the next 2 weeks. We're looking forward to it. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on Sunday.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.